Dzień dobry, drodzy Państwo. Nazywam się Kaja Klimek i jak zawsze w festiwalowym nastroju zeszłoroczna akredytacja Krakowskiego Festiwalu Filmowego. W tym roku spotykamy się w trochę innych okolicznościach, ale spotkania i rozmowy z reżyserami odbywają się bez zakłóceń. Bardzo się cieszę, że dzisiaj w ramach pokazu konkursu filmów krótkometrażowych dołączyli do mnie twórcy z przeróżnych krajów, autorzy przeróżnych filmów, ale postaramy się o nich porozmawiać specjalnie dla Państwa. Oglądajcie spotkania z twórcami, bo to część festiwalowego życia Krakowskiego Festiwalu Filmowego. Atrakcje w trakcie rozmów są nie mniejsze niż w trakcie pokazów, więc zachęcam, żebyście byli z nami. So now I'm going to switch to English because probably only one person in here understood what I said in Polish. So now the time to introduce you all. With me are Ben Reed, the director of Innocence. Please, Ben, say hi. Hi, Ben. Hello. Łukasz Konopa, the director of A Friendly Man. Waving, yes. Zhenya Kryukowa and Anton Dorushenkow, who is the cinematographer, and she's the director of the film Adults. Please wave. Hi, nice to have you both in here. Nicolas Fatou, How My Grandmother Became a Chair. Hello, Nicolas. Hi. And Kintis Lundgren, the director of Thomas Beneath the Valley of the Wild Wolves. And I think that you should introduce the person who's with you.
Hi, I'm Kintis, and this is Straszko Ivasic. He's the co-writer and voice of the wolf.
Awesome.
Well, it needs some fixing.
Yeah, I recognize the voice, and I think that all the people who had the chance to see the film already know who you are. Thank you for joining me here. I know it's difficult to find time to meet at the same place and the same time while being in different countries. So we really appreciate your collaboration with the Krakow Film Festival. And as I said before, I think we should start with like a first round that's gonna be, I have this privilege that I always can ask this question because it's a good question to everybody. Where the idea of your film came from and what's the background of the story? And I would love to start with Ben and the film Innocence. Can you tell us a bit about how this film came about and your cooperation with the association and the foundation that you work with?
Certainly, yes. Thank you very much for a start for getting me to be a part of this wonderful festival. It's lovely to be a part of it. So my brother has Down syndrome and we love cinema. Me and my brother spent our childhood watching many films, and he got frustrated from a young age that he didn't see himself represented in those films. And when he did see people with Down syndrome on screen, he felt he saw people who were misrepresenting who he was and very simplifying the emotions that he has. And I think people haven't been made aware that people with Down syndrome have just the same wants, needs, desires, and abilities in many ways that we have. Sometimes it's expressed in different ways, but they're very much there, even if they aren't always articulated. So I worked with the Portsmouth Down Syndrome Association, as well as my producer Thibaut and his production company Sweet Dough, to develop the film. And Ken Ross, who runs the Portsmouth Down Syndrome Association with his wife, he feels very passionately about these issues. His own son has Down syndrome. And like me, he wants to make people with Down syndrome be more connected to the industry, to be given the opportunities that other people are given, and to utilize the abilities they have and the skills they have. So we both wanted to show a very assertive character. We wanted to show a character that could also play on preconceptions that the public have. So I think when people watch somebody with Down syndrome on screen, they don't necessarily, they kind of see them maybe in the way that the detective in the film sees them. So they think that they're people that can be easily manipulated, who don't necessarily have individual thought and ability to think for themselves and to be as intelligent and clever as the character of Dylan is in the film of Innocence. So that's kind of where we started from. And we also wanted to kind of flip convention and tropes on their heads. So if you think of, say, The Usual Suspects, in that you have Kevin Spacey pretending to have a disability to trick the people.
Oh, that's a spoiler. That's a spoiler, Mr. Ben.
Oh, so are we discussing this? Are we discussing this with people having not watched the film?
Yeah, like I guess there are still people in the world who haven't seen.
Okay. So I won't give away the twists and turns there.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean we've very much done this film to show what actors with Down syndrome are capable of, and also just to make people think about how they interpret the character of Dylan themselves. Because I think when viewers start to watch the film, they might interpret the character one way because of their own prejudices or because of their own misconceptions of what people with Down syndrome are capable of. And then hopefully for the course of the film, it makes people reflect and look at things a different way. And as a result of doing the film, the lead actor, Tommy Jessup, has got into BAFTA's kind of highly acclaimed program to get people involved in having their career progress. It's called BAFTA Elevate, and he's been getting more training and workshops and working with leading industry professionals and BAFTA award winners. So we're hoping now to progress on from that. We've worked on a feature film script, which we're developing, which is pushing further the characters and the ideas in the film. And it's been fantastic to work with such wonderful people.
Yeah, we're going to develop on that, Ben. We're going to develop on the process.
Okay.
Also, I want to ask you later about the genre cinema, because you are also using genre to tell the story, which is super interesting. But I need to switch to another window.
Of course, I could talk forever. So
yeah, but lovely. Thank you for answering my question. So let's jump, because I'm like kind of jumping in between those little windows. I would like to jump actually to Kintis and Drashko. Tell us a bit about the story, the one that you developed, because Kintis, I know your other films. I know the films about foxes. I love them a lot. So I wanted to ask you how this story came about and what was behind it. What was the initial idea that you put into Thomas and the Valley of Wolves?
Well, because I'm trying to create this kind of universe of characters which are interconnected through all the different shorts. So the film that I made before Moneyworld, Thomas was a side character there. And well, I wanted to make a next film about this side character and to see who he is. And well, I decided to, well, we didn't know exactly why was the reason why he slept with the Moneyworld and his mother in that previous film. So maybe I wanted to kind of open that up to show that maybe he's like a gigolo or something. And since Moneyworld, so the film before was very kind of quiet and maybe slow in some ways, I wanted to make something more wild and crazy. So I was taking some inspiration from Russ Meyer. I know not a lot of people know him, but I really love Russ Meyer films. So I wanted to make some sort of this kind of sexploitation feeling kind of a film. And I don't know, do you want to say something also?
Yeah, like tell us a bit about writing the character also for yourself, Drashko.
Well, the idea was to exploit this character which already exists in a Moneyworld short film. But we had a lot of questions we didn't know how to answer. So we had to actually come from scratch, you know, and this is a bit set up from all different situations and people we know, but we put it then in Thomas and how he faces the situation where he is exploited sexually by his boss, female boss, right? Because at that point when we were writing the script, just exploded this Me Too movement, and a lot of questions we were asking ourselves about oppression, and is it really just female problem or it can be also male, you know, and so this one thing leads to another. So I think it's very organic process. So it's very difficult to pinpoint, okay, this is why we decided to go in this direction. But I think more of it comes from a very close collaboration and a lot of conversations we have about every character.
Thank you very much. So we're going to jump ahead. Zhenya and Anton. I'm going to ask the question about the origins of the story and the idea behind it, because we have those two characters that are really strongly connected to each other. How did you develop the script and how did you work with developing the story of this family?
Ну, в двух словах. Ну, в общем, откуда появилась история, как появились персонажи, вот, как развивались персонажи и отношения между ними.
Вообще, эта история не совсем... Эта история не совсем обо мне, но... Слышно меня, да? Слышно?
Да.
Эта история не совсем обо мне, но в ней очень много личного и болезненного для меня, потому что в раннем детстве я потеряла своего отца, и это обстоятельство, оно откликается в моей жизни по сей день. Поэтому, когда в моей киношколе я думала о том, что станет моим дипломом, какая история станет моим дипломом, я понимала, что эта драматическая ситуация станет частью этой истории, моего фильма дипломного.
Все, да? This story, it's not the story from my life, but it has a lot of personal and painful things for me. My father died when I was 4 years old, and this fact is still affects my life today. So when I had to choose a story in the film school, for my diploma film, I knew that would be a part of it.
Okay, so I wanted to develop on one thing, because when we watch Zhenia's film, like your film, I mean Zhenia's and Anton film, the dialogue is like really emotional and really develops the story in that way, because it's mostly dialogue-driven film. So I wanted to ask her about working with the script, if there was a lot of writing and rewriting to get to the point that she felt, okay, this is the stuff that I can give to the actors to say now.
В общем, вопрос такой, то что, ну, фильм диалоговый и движется диалогами, и как бы, ну, хотят узнать, как долго писался сценарий, как долго писались диалоги, ну вот, как долго ты добиралась до сути.
Вообще, работа над сценарием длилась около 2 лет, то есть я не пыталась сразу же придумать историю, мне хотелось, чтобы это появилось что-то именно очень личное для меня, и я достаточно долгое время просто записывала какие-то свои мысли, свои какие-то сцены, которые рождались у меня. Это были и какие-то мои воспоминания о детстве, и размышления о том, что я чувствую по поводу того, что я потеряла отца, мои переживания из-за сложных взаимоотношений с моим родным братом на тот момент, и даже мои страхи по поводу родов во время моей беременности. То есть это все вошло в фильм. Антон, переведи, и я потом и скажу, что я еще чуть-чуть потом.
Ну ладно. Там просто про диалоги больше спрашивают.
Скажи, что много всего.
Хорошо. I was thinking about this script about 2 years and writing down potential scenes and a lot of my personal childhood memories, memories about my father, my hard, difficult relationships with my brother, and even fears about my pregnancy are mixed in this.
И работа над самой структурой сценария заняла действительно у меня больше времени, чем работа над диалогами, потому что, наверное, из-за того, что весь сценарий, он построен на моих болевых точках, сами диалоги, они достаточно быстро появились, и над ними я больше работала не как над смыслом, а как над музыкальной составляющей фильма, то есть обращала внимание на темпоритм диалогов и мелодичность диалогов. И для меня было важно постоянно сравнивать речь Ксении, такую мелодичную, поэтичную речь, и такую достаточно бытовую речь Артема, и такие короткие его фразы, чтобы постоянно они, два актера, работали на контрасте, то есть чтобы постоянно сравнивать и то, как они говорят, и то, о чем они говорят. Антон?
Да, я понял. I spent writing down dialogues was easier for me because maybe because the story is based on some parts of my life, so it was not the issue, main issue. For me, working on dialogue was like working on music, and I want to make a contrast between the ways the characters speak. So it's Ksenia with a poetic and melodic voice and speech, and there's Artyom with very short and domestic speech. So for me it was very important that constantly compare characters, and I want to make them contrast.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Anton. Good job. Because I kind of understood what Zhenya was saying, as we all people from Eastern and Central Europe do, if it comes to our languages. So the translation was top-notch. Thank you very much. I'm going to ask later the question to you as the cinematographer in the second round, okay? Nicholas, can you tell us a bit about the origins of the story of the grandma in your film? Because it's like really interesting metaphor that you're using in there, and I wanted to ask about how it developed during the process.
Thank you. Yes, so the story starts with my grandmother because she lived very close to my house, and because she was too close, I never felt the urge to go and pay her a visit. And the story starts when she passed away, when I got the idea of the film. And I felt really sad because I didn't visit her very often. But thinking about that, I realized how much I was lucky to be able to keep few things that were very dear to her, like her perfume, her candies, some of the pictures that were found under her pillow. And this is, I wanted to pay tribute to my grandmother's senses. And also, my grandmother wasn't living alone. Like in Lebanon, usually elder people from the middle class, they usually stay with, we have housekeepers that usually come from Africa to take care of them. And she was, I wanted to highlight this relationship of our housekeeper and my grandmother that was evolving with time, and how much they grew and became close to each other.
Mm-hmm. Wow, so it's really connected to your own personal life. I actually kind of thought that it can be a story about your grandma. So thank you for sharing this with us. And now Łukasz, the only documentary film in our set. So the question must start with the person. Tell us a bit about the meeting that you had with your character and how that developed into the film. First was the idea to make a film, or Yoza as the person? Tell us a bit about this, please.
First was I came to Israel for a film festival, and I went to Jerusalem for a trip, and I saw Yoza, this guy in my film, main character, who was guiding a tour at that time. And I could see that he's wearing a T-shirt with Polish flag. And I just went to talk to him, and after the tour we went for coffee. And I wasn't thinking about a film then, but we became friends, and slowly I started filming him whenever I was around. And he started telling me about his life, and I wasn't sure if what he's telling me about it's true or not, because I could see that during the tours he can like just tell people whatever they want to hear, because that's the job of a tour guide a little bit. People are coming for all sorts of reasons, and you have to make sure they come back home satisfied. So tour guides really colorize the reality, and we became friends, and I've got quite a lot of footage with him, but when I decided to make a film, I used very little, because it was also kind of like a personal challenge. What can I do with one interview? And that was the start. So I was trying to take away things that I had and just simplify it. And yeah, and that's the story how I met him. We are still friends, and for me, the title says it's all. It's about someone who really wants to be friends with everybody, and he can't say no, and he wants to fit in, and because of that, he ends up in all sorts of trouble. And for me, that was interesting as a filmmaker.
Thank you. So just add to your answer, please, how many hours of the footage did you have? Because it feels that we have 20 minutes and the whole life of a person. So I was just with such a talkative person as he is, how many hours this interview took?
No, it's very like minimalistic. Maybe it was 1 hour 15.
Oh, okay.
Because I made the interview when I already knew him. Actually, it was, I don't know if it's interesting, but it wasn't really even an interview because he mentioned that guy in the film, but when he was in prison, there was someone who really helped him. And that was supposed to be a meeting between these two guys, but at the end I went just for the interview. So I don't know how many hours overall I have, because I filmed all sorts of tours he was doing, but the interview was maybe like 1 hour 15, maybe 1.5 hours.
Okay.
But it's very condensed because he speaks so much.
Yeah, I can imagine, like the Mr. Anecdote he seems to be. Thank you very much. So that concludes the first round. That went well. Are you ready for the second round of questions? Yeah, good energy. That's the important part. Actually, I remember where I started. So coming back to Ben, I wanted to ask you, because you actually said something about that in your previous answer, that there are so many stereotypes, the visions that we have of people with Down syndrome. We treat them like children, even when they are adults and even when they are becoming older and older. And you use genre cinema to switch it, as you were saying before. So I was just curious, why did you choose like a crime detective story, actually? Because there are so many different genres that you can use. You could make a science fiction film, I can imagine that, comedy, like a lot of things, and you choose the crime story. Can you tell us why that was the genre that you went in?
Well, I think, as I mentioned before, my younger brother, who has Down syndrome, he loves crime films, and he's very passionate about those. So we did watch lots of those together growing up, and I know the staples of the genre and how to play with those and how to use those to misdirect the viewer. But also, there's a very, very popular detective series in Britain. It was called A Touch of Frost, and it was watched by 20 million people a week. And when I was young, when I was about 12 years old, they had an episode where they had a character with Down syndrome, and he was accused of a murder. And you knew from the first second that he was wrongly accused. And they were going to then go through these tropes to then show how he was being treated badly and people were ignorant about him, and then it would unfold it wasn't really him. And he didn't have a character. He was just used as a device to tell a story where he himself was very one-dimensional. Just the person being accused of murder, the actor who had Down syndrome, he wasn't given a chance to really portray any range, and his character was very one-dimensional. And I felt that that was, you know, polite society doing something politically correct to try and show what people with Down syndrome can do by just sticking their faces on screen. But it's not enough just to put people's faces on screen. You've got to give them something very meaty to get their teeth into, something that can show their range and to show their emotions. And you'd argue that people could discuss, could somebody with Down syndrome do that? Could they not? Would they do that? But you don't have that discussion when you talk about normal people, and normal people as well is a problem, because the word normal people has this issue and this connotation that then is abnormal. And I just feel that it's a problem that we think that people with Down syndrome aren't allowed to be portrayed, to be shown to be angry or to be capable of crime, because they can be capable of crime, and their characters in cinema can be allowed to play those roles. They shouldn't be curtailed and say they can only play roles where they're shown to be sweet or innocent or the idiot Albert or different type of tropes which are becoming cliche, way too repetitive. So I kind of want to smash down those barriers which I think exist in cinema by doing something that had never been done before. And it was fantastic to have the Portsmouth Down Syndrome Association supporting that 100% every step of the way, because I think that kind of shows how, you know, organisations as well are aware that this is an issue, that we need to stop putting kid gloves on people who have, you know, very human wants, wishes, desires, and to give them an opportunity to express those. And what was lovely for me, if you don't mind me just telling one quick story, was we had our premiere. We had our premiere at BAFTA, and I kind of snuck into the screen with people not knowing I was the writer-director. And when the film finished, woman sitting next to me, under her breath, she just went, "That was sick." Like really, really, really hit by it and quite angered by it. And then after the lights came up, a girl with Down syndrome came up to me and in my mind, that's who I'm making it for. You know, somebody who has been denied this opportunity to see themselves on screen in a way where they're not just shown as sweet and innocent. Hence the title, really, you know, and a play on the title. Yeah. Whereas I think that person who said that's sick, they only want to see people with Down syndrome portrayed in a certain light, and they don't want to see them have the opportunity to be played in the full 360 dimension of where we can go as humans, which everybody else has the right to be portrayed as.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I really appreciate the fact that you gave this agency towards the characters that are, as you said, usually are objects of the story, not the subjects of the story. So sometimes they can be even the usual suspects of the story, which is really
very good. Very good. Yeah.
Snap. Thank you very much, Ben. Let's get to Kintis. I wanted to ask you both, because you use the animals and animation at the same time, which we always connect. Of course, that's going to be this question: animations as the sweet and innocent way to develop the story, and you switch it also. You put it on the head in a way. What gives you the what animation as the form can give you that the actors wouldn't, basically? So can you just tell us a bit about that part, like mixing those fire and water things in your work?
Well, I've never worked with actors, you know, in a live action sense, so I'm not sure I can really answer that. But I mean, I like the fact that, you know, my actors don't have any, you know, they do what I tell them to do. You know, I can draw whatever I want, and I can just do it all alone in my room. You know, it's the simplicity. I don't know. Do you wanna comment on something?
You know, there are two interesting stuff which you mentioned, putting things upside down, and maybe this is similar to treating a person with a Down syndrome, because usually people use animation, as you say, for telling either innocent stories with animals, you know, cute, furry animals, and we basically intentionally wanted to show a queer world, you know, like gay characters. Also, the main character in our story is Gigolo. So I think this kind of people from the edge, they're also underrepresented in movies, in a way, you know, in the stories. And we wanted to tell that even somebody who is in a sex business, you know, has feelings and doubts, and of course it's not the first story about it, but I think it's important to put this in drawn characters, because I think adult animation is usually mistreated in a way. People either treat adult animation as some fun for people who smoke weed, you know, and then they watch some funny animation, or is like something which is I don't know, anima, you know, like some, with a lot of action, you know, genre aspects. So we wanted to see, can we tell a story which is not pure entertainment, still through comedy, but about issues which are not really usual for the adult entertainment. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's what I thought, basically. Yeah, I can see that Ben is also nodding, because it really feels that there is this innocence that it's at stake in here. So thank you for telling us about this. And now I'm going to ask about the form of the film to Anton, because and some of you, I'm sorry, but some of you has something really loud outside of the microphone. I don't know if it's the street or something going on, but it sometimes just like drives the sound down. Maybe it
does sound like a lion.
Maybe it was the window. You will see.
You sure this is not your cat?
No, my cat is actually asleep in the box. So we can put that on film. We'll see. Maybe that's gonna help. Okay, so to Anton and Zhenya, you work in a confined space of the apartment. It's really tough in there. I mean, like emotional way, and also in the space way that we have this space. So I wanted to ask you, Anton, what were the challenges and how did you work to construct this world of the brother and sister in this one space of an apartment? Tell us a bit about the process and working with Zhenya on that. Maybe you both can answer that question.
Антон, переведешь?
Поняла, Женя, вопрос?
Нет.
Ну, в общем, это вопрос про то, как мы работали в таком маленьком помещении. Вот, ну, как бы, в основном ко мне, но, возможно...
Ну, давай тогда ты ответишь.
По поводу актеров. Ну, хорошо. I think for me the biggest challenge was is to plug the scenes in such a small space because there are a lot of dialogues, and it's pretty hard in such tight space always come up with something new. So do not repeat yourself, and it's also hard to find the way to interact the camera with the actors and not interfere each other. So move the camera with actors because it was really tight. So in fact, we have to take out the furniture and stuff like refrigerators and everything else between the setups. So just for me to stand up with the camera, and most of the times I was right at the wall. Mm-hmm. So it was from one point it was hard to come up with the ideas with blocking, and the second challenge was this claustrophobic feeling. I don't know, when you for the long time, for the whole time of the shooting, you are in a very little space with a lot of people, so it's
Yeah. It's
pressure.
to get emotional also for the crew of the film, I guess.
And there are the story itself is very hard, and I don't know, when it's day 5 or something, it's already pretty hard.
Yeah, so I have a question to Zhenya also on that. How did you take the people out of this situation? Because as Anton said, it's really hard. And it was really hard for all of you to be there and work on that film. So what was the idea to like end it in a way, just to go further towards your own life in a way now? Okay.
Вопрос следующий. Как ты ну, как бы выдергивал людей из вот этого депрессивного состояния, ну, условно, потому что история тяжелая, и, как я только что рассказал, было довольно сложно, ну, всем, ну, на съемочной площадке находиться, вот, в таких условиях. Как ты помогала людям как бы от этого избавиться и возвращаться к нормальной жизни?
Честно говоря, даже не знаю, как. Действительно, все было очень непросто, и мы все пребывали в таком не очень радостном состоянии, и, ну, наверное, нам казалось, что мы делаем какое-то хорошее, важное кино, поэтому мы старались держаться. Anton.
Да. Actually, I don't know because it was really hard sometimes, but I think everybody just thought that they're doing something good and important, so that keep us up. I can add that it was summer, and it was really nice on a dinner break, just go outside, and for an hour we just chill.
Yeah, to have a few breaths of fresh air outside of the apartment. I can imagine that must have helped. But thank you for answering and for translation again. Nicholas, you were saying that the story is based on the story of your grandma, but at the same time, you are using not only animals, but also furniture as the metaphor for telling this story. So can you tell us a bit about working with animation as the language to tell about those things that actually I couldn't imagine that would be possible in different way to tell a story like this, so visible and so strong, because of course we have those elderly people that some people say like, oh, they are like furnitures at some point in time in our life, but you do it like so precisely. So can you tell us a bit about the process that you worked on the very medium itself?
Yes, so it is a 2D traditional 2D animation on computer. And I had this specific furniture, for example, for my grandmother. She had always one chair that I always see her sitting on that chair. And I wanted to use animals in the animation because I saw that there is characteristics that these animals have in common with human beings. For example, why the housekeeper in the beginning looks a little bit like an animal, and because she had a different skin color and she wasn't treated very much like a part of the family. But the more my grandmother and the housekeeper stayed together, and the more the film evolves, we can see that at the end of the film, the only human being will be the housekeeper, and because she was the only person who discovered the importance of the chair and was able to see grandmother in this chair. Mm-hmm. And this is what's important in the film, is to ask what is real family, and to see things with a different perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course the all the stories of animals and our like imaginations, what they can mean, come to place. So at the same time, it's a dialogue between you and your story and us as the viewers,
Yes.
which is something really great in your film. So thank you for sharing the story, because I guess that everybody kind of connects their grandparents with some furniture.
Yes, because
But
we always remember them through something, and it's always nicer to see that our loved ones will never go away, but instead they will become pieces of furniture. And this is what.
Which is, yeah, it starts as something sad, but at the end it feels like, yeah, they were always sit in that chair, basically.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you for telling us the story. Łukasz, I have a question about your friend and character at the same time. How to make this border between one and the other, because it feels, and your character says that I always had unluck with people, and I always was giving so much, and now I feel that, you know, I don't have any. I have this lack of you know, feeling good about myself. So you think that for him the film was actually, and meeting you was something that really helps him in that way? I don't know, because it feels that he talks about it so much that there's always this like big pit in his soul. So I wondered if you felt that you are actually giving something to him in like for the story that he's telling you.
I think you are right. I don't know, like one question is if you can separate like a friend from a character, and second about Josa personally. So maybe I start from the second one. I think especially the premiere was for him very important because he invited friends and family, and I think he comes from like a really good family, and I think he was very unlucky and he made so many mistakes. And for him, the fact that someone like validates his life and that people really went to talk to him after the screening, I think that was very, very important, that he could show this film to his children and be kind of important for others, that people treat him seriously and they like him, even though he made so many mistakes. And he reveals quite a bit in the film. So I think it just validates him that he doesn't have to pretend or do bad stuff for people to be liked, that he can be just himself. So I think it was important because he's also old and quite sick. So I'm sure that was a special moment for him. And the first part of the question, I don't know how other filmmakers are doing it, documentary filmmakers. For me, there is never a line between friends and characters. So each new project, you have to take responsibility that it will take years, or I don't know even how many years, because I'm not making film for so long. But I think each project, it's a responsibility, and you let someone into your life, because that's the only way for me to ask others to let me in their life. So I have to be fully myself, and I can't pretend, and this is how it works for me. But I don't know if this is the rule or not, but
yeah, I think you make the rules as you go in the business of filmmaking, no matter what kind of film you are in process of. And actually, when you were, I just need to say that, because yesterday I watched a amazing documentary about a famous basketball player called Dennis Rodman. Probably everybody heard of him because he's a bit flamboyant and spectacular character in his life, and also in the, of course, the TV series, the series that was recently on. And when I was watching Josa, I was thinking about Dennis Rodman, to be honest, because it feels that there were so many mistakes in his life, and he was always like coming back from it and needing this validation from the outside world. So it feels like it's a similar character, and I just wanted to add that because when I watched your film, I was like, he's just like Dennis Rodman. So that's probably it's like a really weird connection, but that's what I had in my mind.
For me, it was clear that this, I don't want to spoil anybody, but for me, the first kind of event when he was rejected, I think it was really like simple, that it changed the whole life for him, because it was such a strong feeling. And since then, he really tries to like be liked and accepted.
Yeah.
And for me now, like there is no a single day without like a text message from Joza. So I can tell you that he just became a grandfather for the second time yesterday.
Oh, congratulations. That's nice. So there's family around. That's also important for...
He lives with his partner, and unfortunately he doesn't work because of the coronavirus. But other than that, I think he's fine. He has like 3 really beautiful and amazing children, and now 2 grandchildren.
No, good for him. Coronavirus got mentioned. So the last question is, how does the pandemic, lockdown, and what's going on in the world affect you as Łukasz is the source of the sound. Now we know it.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. It's life.
I'm sorry, but it got so dark where I am.
Pura vida, as people say. So tell us a bit about how the lockdown works with you all. Does it help, or that it's an obstacle? Because there are so many different answers that people have if it comes to this. Yeah, I'm just really curious, and probably our viewers also. But one thing, just please keep it short. And we're going to start with Ben.
Well, it's strange you say that, because my partner's just walking in saying it's taking a while because, yeah, we have a 2.5-year-old daughter. So dealing with lockdown and working both of us full time has its complications. So time management is important, but it also helps you focus when you need to focus. So rather than procrastinating, I'm writing a feature film at the moment, and that's very much focused me on making sure every second, every minute I have, I can make the most of that. But in terms of the industry in Britain, I had a job lined up which was starting this week, which has been cancelled because it was a British-American co-production filming in South America, and obviously that can't happen now. So, so yeah, that's obviously having. So, what's that? Sorry.
Hopefully soon we're gonna keep our fingers crossed for that to come back on track. Thank you, Ben. Hintis,
No
how it works with you and lockdown as animators and script writers? Does it help?
For me, everything is the same because I work from home anyway. Actually, I have more work than before, although I'm not really sure that's connected to the coronavirus, but I guess it is easier for the animators because we can work from home. So all these live action projects now can become animation projects.
Yeah, I've heard that most of the commercials that we're gonna get this autumn gonna be animated ones, because now that's the thing that you're doing just to keep the business afloat. So yeah, yeah. Thank you very much, Draško. You want to add something on that?
Well, for example, this also helps that you can promote your film without traveling. This, like, I mean, I love festivals, and it was wonderful in Krakow last time when we were with Live with Herman Ekström.
Yeah.
And I would like to come again. This really amazing festival and beautiful town. But on the other hand, since we travel approximately 20, 30 times per year sometimes, this is like when you count how many weeks a year has, that means that you're going to be like maybe 50% of your time on the road. And when you're on the road, you cannot write script, you cannot sketch, you cannot actually do your stuff. You know, so in that case, actually, Corona and isolation helps to stay creative and to work more.
That's a good lesson that this is giving us if it comes to our working schedule. Thank you for saying this. Okay, so Zhenya and Anton, how does it work with you?
Как, Жень, как пандемия повлияла на твою работу в двух словах?
Ну, вообще, достаточно тяжело сидеть дома. У меня еще ребенок дома, поэтому это очень непросто. Вот, но как на режиссера это повлияло, наверное, хорошо, потому что я наконец-то занялась новым проектом, который достаточно долго откладывала из-за нехватки времени. Сейчас, наконец-то, его появилось очень много.
It's pretty hard to sit at home. Also, I have a kid, a child, so from that point it's hard, but as a director it's good because I'm finally started new project and writing new script.
Oh, good. Congratulations on that. We're going to keep our fingers crossed for you also to be able to finish it. And maybe next year or in 2 years, we're going to meet in Kraków when everything comes back on track. Anton, and you? You yourself?
Me, myself, of course, I have no job right now and all the projects are rescheduled. But I don't know, I just reading, watching movies, and study history. I don't know.
Doesn't sound so terrible, I guess. Just developing your knowledge and your skills is also a way to spend those days. Yeah. So yeah, fingers crossed for you to be able also to come back to work as soon as possible. Nicolas, do you agree with Kintis that it's a perfect time for animators?
Yes, it's a perfect time for animators, but the problem in Lebanon is that now there is an economic crisis and like people do not have access to everything like before, to the banks and to the food and everything. But luckily I'm able to work on a new film with my sister and that I'm developing, and it's a short animation.
Oh, good. So we're waiting to be able to see it as soon as possible. And of course, fingers crossed for the improvement of the situation in your country. It's, yeah.
Thank you.
Łukasz, how is it with you as the documentary filmmaker? You can't talk with the new character or anything like that. So what's up with you now?
Two of my projects are suspended, and I don't know when I'm going to be able to continue, because to continue I need to travel, and at the moment it's impossible. But the same as Anton, I'm just trying to read books, watch films, watch documentaries, go for long walks to somehow use this time, and I must say it's been quite pleasant.
Yeah. To share my story, I become an avid runner. I'm running in the pandemic because it's safe with the mask, and I'm developing not only my mind but also like my stamina. So there's always something that you can do apart from just waiting for the situation to improve. Thank you guys for sharing your stories. I wanted to ask you to wave to the camera so I can do the screenshot for the festival. We always do that. It's a nice memorabilia. I'm going to send you that also. So please wave. Great. Beautiful. Thank you very much. I hope everything comes back on track for all of you, and to see you one day at Kraków Film Festival. So thank you for spending this interesting hour with us. And now few words also in Polish. I'm sorry. Dziękuję Państwu bardzo za oglądanie. Polecam wszystkie konkursy filmów krótkometrażowych na Krakowskim Festiwalu Filmowym oraz inne filmy. Pamiętajcie, że jesteśmy dla Was w każdej formule i zawsze. Do zobaczenia zatem na razie w internecie, a już mamy nadzieję niedługo również w rzeczywistości. Dziękuję bardzo i miłego popołudnia, wieczoru, poranka, kiedykolwiek nas oglądacie. Once again, thank you guys and have a good one. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.